Hi, it's been a while. Life's been kinda shit, and I have been busy and sick. Still am, if you can tell by the voice cracking. Anyhow, for all you lovely new people here, I'm Safi. I promise I normally don't sound like Kermit the Frog. I have been hyperfixating on Digimon lately, and that isn't going to change anytime soon, it seems. And you can tell from the title, I also dabble in pro Sekai. Well, truth be told, I haven't been keeping up with the story in a while now, because life is busy, but I have heard about recent developments through the grapevine, and I also have played a good chunk of it, so I have a relative good grip on all of the characters. So one day I just kinda thought, what if I combine those two interests? Well, gonna be 100% frank, this started with the would Hatsune Miku be a Digimon debate and just kinda escalated, and now I made 5 different drawings based on it. You're welcome. Okay, let's get right into it while I give a quick rundown on what the hell Project Sekai even is. If you already know, timestamps will be in the description. If you need an explanation on what Digimon is, bro, I don't know what to tell you, you're on the wrong channel. So, Project Sekai, also known as Hatsune Miku Colorful Stage in the West, because they didn't trust us to understand that Hatsune Miku is in their other ways, is a gacha rhythm game similar to other popular games like Ensemble Star and Idolish, or probably best known the Birthlight series. In the game you complete several Vocaloid songs and commissioned songs with the help of very well illustrated cards that make things more easy for you and also give you more points depending on if they meet the criteria of the current event. Like the games I have just compared it to, Project Sekai has a very extensive story mode that has been spanning over several years and gets expanded on with events every month. The narrative of the story mode of this game focuses on the original characters Project Sekai introduced. However, the big twist here is that Hatsune Miku and her friends show up as the supporting cast for all of these characters, and the even bigger twist is that they do that as different variations of themselves. It's a bit confusing, but the game makes it work. The basic premise of the game is that there are 5 distinct groups of children with 4 members each who all share some kind of common goal or desire. Each group has their own story where, due to unspecified supernatural means, they discover that either their shared or one of their members' feelings was strong enough to create a new world where Hatsune Miku and friends live. How does that work exactly? Don't worry about it. Despite the somewhat ridiculous premise, Project Sekai's writing is actually very solid. The narrative actually being rather grounded in reality and focusing on life-to-life experiences of the characters while they try to break into the music industry in several of the stories, or in one particular case dealing with some rather serious mental issues. One thing all of these groups have in common is that they all create music together. In today's video we will be pairing each of the group leaders with a Digimon of my choosing and talk about my thought process. Starting with Ichika. Ichika is the leader of the group Leonette. Leonette's story revolves around 4 high school students, Ichika, Saki, Honoka and Shio, all former childhood friends who used to be glued to each other's hips. However, after their friend Saki fell ill and missed most of their middle school days, something happened that caused their group to drift apart. Flash forward to high school and Saki is back, determined to make up for lost time and unaware of her friends no longer being on speaking terms. Ichika suddenly finds herself faced with a rather complicated and emotionally challenging situation, as she doesn't know how to tell Saki that she isn't friends with the other 2 anymore and that they seemingly seem to hate her now. However, after the girls find a mysterious song on their phones, they suddenly find themselves in another world that looks suspiciously like the old elementary school, and are greeted by no other than Hatsune Miku herself, much to the girls' confusion, because Miku and Ko are actually Vocaloids in their world too. Miku explains to them how strong emotions can create new worlds, and that this world was made out of their shared emotions about their mutual past. Which is rather confusing to the girls, understandably. She also tells them that once they realized what those emotions are, a new song would be born. That's how Project Sekai basically justifies their live shows and the whole performing songs together with Vocaloid aspects of the game. Also, don't worry, the girls aren't stuck there until they find their true feelings. They can just leave and go back to their regular lives all the time. They just have to stop the song. Which they all eventually do, because at the start, Shio and Tanaka aren't really on board with the whole reconciliation thing. Which seems strange because it's very clear to the viewer that that's something they all want. As the story progresses, we find out more about the girls and why their relationship unraveled the way it did. Misunderstandings get cleared up and insecurities get overcome as the girls realize that their shared feelings are their desire to be friends again. They form a band like they always said they would when they were little and give it the name Leonette because they always used to stargaze together and loved it. This is where the main story ends for these girls, but not where the event stories end. They have a lot going on. This game has been out for like 3 years now, and it gets new events every month. Now that we have established the basic plot of the main story, let's get into my design process. Ichika as a character is a rather reserved girl with a shy personality. Despite being the lead vocalist, songwriter and lead guitarist, Ichika is quite insecure about her own abilities. Gabumon felt like an appropriate pick. Not only does he fit her color scheme very well, he also complements her personality-wise and is associated with the quest of friendship, which is a cute bonus. Feels very appropriate. I also decided to draw each of the leaders like a Digimon main character, hence all of them getting their own pairs of signature goggles. Next up is Tsukasa. Tsukasa is the only male leader in the game, and he's also Saki's older brother. That's right, all of the stories are interconnected in some ways. Tsukasa, in a lot of ways, is Ichika's polar opposite, being a very boisterous and loud character who sings his own praises even if it isn't always justified. He is the leader of Wonderland's X Showtime, a theme park performer troupe who together put on different kinds of shows to entertain the guests of the theme park. Their group consists of Tsukasa himself, the self-proclaimed leader of the group of course, Imu, whose parents own the theme park, Rui, the director of the group, and Nini, who is their musical talent, so basically their quote-unquote diva. So, strap in, this is a long one. So, Tsukasa, since he was a young child, wanted to become a world-famous performer. He is convinced that he is destined to become a star and make it big, which caused him to develop quite the ego. So when he tries to audition for one of the larger stages at their local theme park, Fanny Wonderland, he unfortunately blows the audition with his ego trip. However, fortunately for him, or unfortunately if you might ask him, resident oddball Imo listened in on his audition and took a liking to him. So Tsukasa was hired to perform at the Wonder Stage, the smallest and oldest stage at the park. After his initial whining died down, Tsukasa decided to make the best of the situation, but to do so they needed more help. So he goes out and recruits Rui, a brilliant inventor and stage director who has a knack for dangerous special effects. Rui brings along Nene, his childhood friend who dreams of becoming a Broadway star, but due to an incident has developed rather terrible stage fright and borderline social anxiety. Rui, being the good friend that he is, combats that by making her a robot version of herself called Nene Robo, which she can remote control from her hiding spot. Nene is in fact a certified gamer. No, like that's actually a character trait she has. During the course of the story, Tsukasa finds a strange song on his phone, which teleports him and Emu to another world that was created from his feelings, where Kaito and Hatsune Miku greet him. That world seems to be some kind of Wonderland circus amalgamation with talking and walking stuffed animals. It's one of the more out there worlds in this game. Tsukasa is also one of 2 characters who managed to create his own Sekai with only his emotions. We learn that Tsukasa apparently forgot why he wanted to become a star in the first place and that he needs to recover that feeling. Eventually, Rui and Nini also get access to his Sekai and they have some shenanigans there as they prepare for their first show. That show ended in disaster after Nini Robo malfunctions and Tsukasa lets his frustration out on Nini. After effectively ruining everything with his egocentric behavior and having gotten chewed out by Rui, Tsukasa is left contemplating his actions and reflecting on them. He finds himself back at his Sekai, where he finds a living plush rabbit who looked exactly like a toy his sister used to own. That toy is crying uncontrollably and he tries to share them up, and that's when he realizes what he forgot. Tsukasa remembers that he first got inspired to become an actor after attending a show with his family and seeing how the performance made his sister, who was always in and out of the hospital, smile. After that he performed with hair-stuffed animals and made up little stories just to see her smile. Tsukasa's main objective to become an actor was making other people happy. It was never supposed to be about him. It was supposed to be about how other people would feel while watching him. Realizing what a jerk he was to his friends, Tsukasa sets out to apologize and eventually runs into Emu. They have a heart-to-heart and Emu reveals that the reason she wanted to put on performances with him was that she believed him when he said he wanted to put on great performances. She confides in him and tells him how her late grandfather created the park with the goal to make it fun for everyone in mind, and how she loved the Wonder Stage. However, ever since her older brothers took the charge of the business, they have been changing the park to primarily appeal to a teenage audience. Her brothers also wanted to tear down the Wonder Stage, however Emu pleaded with her family to give her a chance to prove that it can still be profitable. She apologizes to Tsukasa for dragging him into her mess and explains that she didn't tell him anything about it because she didn't want to burden him and the others with her problems. Tsukasa, who had been rather harsh towards Emu due to her oddball behavior, starts to realize that she is actually a very emotionally mature girl with something heavy riding on her. Tsukasa makes a promise to her to help her restore the park to its former self. Together with Emu, Tsukasa apologizes to Nini and after some struggles manages to make up with Rui too. Together they are determined to put on performances that would make other people smile. Tsukasa's story is one of the more complicated ones. He's a rather multifaceted character actually. He seems vain and pompous on the outside, but he also has a very caring older brother side to him. A lot of his more exaggerated behavior is a coping mechanism to deal with his own insecurities as well as to deal with some unaddressed childhood trauma regarding growing up with a chronically ill sibling. It's never directly stated, but it's very likely that the reason Tsukasa had difficulties recalling why he wanted to become an actor is due to him handling sadness by suppressing those memories. Now, he isn't a deeply depressed character by any means, but Tsukasa does have some struggles and his difficulties admitting to that, especially to other people. He takes pride being the reliable older brother to other people and frequently takes younger kids under his wings if they like it or not. I decided on Pawn Chessmon for his partner. Pawn Chessmon is a possible rookie for Starmon, but also represents Tsukasa's protective nature, and I think it would be kinda funny if this was like an actual AU, that he would be kinda fitting for his character to be kinda betrayed about his Digimon being a pawn chessmon. Pawns obviously being the lowest ranking pieces in chess. Other ideas I played with were Agumon, Toy Agumon or Cutemon, with the last one being a nod to Saki's toy rabbit. With the outfits, I tried my best to make it look like something the characters would wear and something that would fit into a Digimon season. I kinda went with the O2 rules here, with the characters kinda looking like you would expect them they want to look like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Next up is Kohane. Kohane is the leader of Vivid Bad Squad. Her story starts after seeing a girl named Ann perform on the streets and suddenly finding herself and Ann in a strange cafe where Hatsune Miku, Kagami Len and Maiko talk to them about their ambitions and dreams. Kohane doesn't really have any dreams of her own, but Ann talks about how she wants to surpass a legendary event her father held with his band named Red Weekend while she was in middle school. Kohane gets inspired by Ann and wants to find a dream of her own. They both find themselves back home suddenly, which throws up so many questions about the lore. Like, can they just teleport around like that? Anyways, after fairly assuming the whole ordeal was just a dream, Kohane, not too long after said event, finds herself run errands for her mother, but ends up getting lost in a sketchy looking part of town, which is rather scary for a timid private school girl as herself. She eventually finds herself at a live performance cafe called Weekend Garage, owned by Ann's father, where she runs into her again. Kohane becomes enamored by her performance and quickly flees out of nervousness, because that is a very straight thing to do. Anyways, after a number of events that would be pretty boring to summarize, Ann and Kohane eventually start teaming up together, which surprises people who knew Ann for a while, since she always turned people down who asked her. It also arranged several people who felt like Kohane wasn't taking their scene seriously. One of the people who aren't very fond of Kohane initially is Akito, one of the members of Bad Dogs, who also witnessed Red Weekend himself and aims to surpass it. Him and his partner Toria develop a rivalry with those two. Anyways, stuff happens, character development is had, eventually those four end up teaming up together. Look, I will be pretty honest with you. Vivid Bad Squad's main story is the weakest one of the main stories in my opinion. Its pacing is pretty rough and a lot of it feels kinda contrived. However, they make up for it by having some great story events later on. I decided on Bearmon for Kohane. That was actually a suggestion from Shortmon is here over on Tumblr. They were a huge help with some of these picks. Bearmon is honestly a pretty self-explanatory pick. They have a similar vibe and the personalities match, so look at them. Again, I tried to make the outfit look like something she would wear while keeping Digimon's design conventions in mind. I actually finished part of this design on stream. If you ever see me streaming while I draw, then feel free to drop by. It's always fun. Next up is Minori. Minori is a rather chronically unlucky high school girl who's aspiring to become an idol. During a particularly bad day in junior high, Minori caught in a performance of a recently debuted idol named Haruka. Amazed by the fact that a girl her age was debuting as an idol, Minori watched as Haruka gave her audience words of encouragement. Her words moved Minori and lifted her depressed mood, and ever since then Minori has been an idol superfan. By the time she reaches high school, Minori has been rejected by several idol agencies. Despite that, she hasn't given up, practicing every day on the school rooftop. However, one day it's announced that her favorite idol, Haruka, quit, and soon after Minori finds out she's now in her parallel class. After a chance encounter on the rooftop, Haruka starts watching Minori's practice. If you're asking yourself, why does this sound like a Shoujo Ai manga? That's because Minori is this game's version of lesbian Jesus. Anyways, eventually another former idol starts helping Minori out with their training. Irie, an upperclassman with a strong personality. Irie's relationship with idol culture is quite bitter. She did not end on the best terms with her agency, so she's visibly frustrated with Minori's rather naive outlook on the industry. The last member of the group is Shizuku, who is a beautiful but airheaded girl who just kinda stumbled into the idol scene and is at the edge of quitting due to bullying from other idols in her agency. And as you probably already can guess, one day during practice the girls find a mysterious song on their phones and get teleported to another world where Hatsune Miku and Kagamine Rin perform for them. Eventually, Minori manages to reawaken the passion of the other girls and they decide they would like to form their own group together. Minori was kinda hard to figure out. I set it on Plotmon because I feel like they share a theme of unrecognized potential, with Plotmon often getting overshadowed by its most popular champion level Tailmon and also its perfect level Angewomon. There's also the whole angel motif Project Sekai likes to associate with Minori in particular. Also bonus, Plotmon is a dog Digimon and Minori is canonically one of 2 characters who has a dog. Her outfit is loosely inspired by her Sekai outfit, but I wanted to make sure it was viable for adventuring. I feel like more Jump would be very popular in the Digi world, honestly, considering they end up becoming an indie group that uses social media to gain a following, so I decided to set her on a stage. Last but certainly not least, Kanade. Kanade is the leader of Nightcord /25, or also known as Nightcord at 25. Nightcord at 25 is a group of faceless creators who produce music videos together, with Kanade as their composer going by the screen name Kei, Mafuyu as their lead singer and songwriter going by the name Yuki, Mitsuki as their editor going by the name Amiya, and Anna as their artist going by the name Enana, I think. Kanade lives alone in a small apartment and attends online school. She has been living like this since a particular incident in junior high. After Kanade's mother died, her father struggled raising her on his own. He once was an accomplished composer but struggled keeping up with new trends. After Kanade surprised him with a song she composed herself, her dad experienced a mental break due to his daughter being so much more talented than him, which made him feel like a failure and he had to be institutionalized. Kanade was traumatized by the experience and has since been overworking herself to produce music that can save people, blaming herself for what happened to her father. She has been producing music with her group for a few years when all of a sudden one of their group members, their songwriter Yuki, stopped responding to them. Understandably concerned, they start contemplating how to figure out if she is okay when suddenly a strange file in their shared folder shows up. A strange version of Hatsune Miku sends them a video message asking them to please help her. After playing the song, they suddenly find themselves in a completely blank-looking world and see each other in person for the very first time. They find out that their friend Yuki, whose real name is Mafuyu as previously mentioned, has been in that Sekai for days now, writing and producing songs under a different name in an attempt to feel something. Mafuyu is dangerously depressed because her mother is emotionally abusive and very controlling. The personality she shows people is a mask, and she hasn't been able to properly feel emotions for quite a while now. Now, a little disclaimer, this part of the story deals with suicidal ideation. The game gets pretty dark at several points in that aspect, so if you don't wanna hear about that, maybe skip forward to the design portion. The girls try desperately to appeal to Mafuyu, but their formerly very warm and friendly friend treats them rather coldly and throws something rather uncomfortable at their heads. All of these girls wanted to end themselves at one point or another. And sadly enough, she isn't wrong about that. Nico ends up sending the girls back home because Mafuyu doesn't want to see them, and slightly hurt and frustrated and also a bit helpless, the girls return to their everyday life, contemplating what to do about Mafuyu. The story continues and we get some more insight into the girls and their backstories and lives and what might have made them want to take those drastic measures. It isn't until Kanade eventually creates a song that makes Mafuyu feel something again, that she regains some sort of hope and admits that she doesn't actually want to die. She wants to be saved. Kanade is my favorite of the leaders. I legitimately have cried several of her story events, and the small snippets of her interactions with her father in the hospitals are so tragic, and she blames herself for so much and puts so much things on and someone please just hug her. Anyways, I decided on Kudamon for her partner. I feel like they make for a good match, and Kudamon's personality matches Kanade rather well. I like the idea that she named her partner Ramen because, well, that's most of her diet, honestly, if it wasn't for the caretaker grandmother hired for her. Anyways, for her goggles I got a bit creative and have her wear a visor that doubles as some sort of sunglasses because our inside dweller doesn't do well in the sun, as most people know who play the game. She ended up looking the most heroic of the bunch somehow, mostly because I imagine that if this was an actual AU, she would be trying to save Mafuyu from whatever dark evolution she caused. Let's find out what that is when we get to that video. This is the end of our video today. I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments below. I, as always, have some links in the description for you to check out. Also, remember to subscribe and like the videos so that the algorithm can pick it up. I know life can be a bit chaotic right now, so I hope everyone is having the best days they can right now and can relax at least a little bit.